The playoffs are here, and you can predict the action all the way to the finals with FanDuel Predicts. Predict the spread, the total points, and even the game-winning moments that make the playoffs. Sign up and get a $25 bonus with FanDuel Predicts.
Offered by FanDuel Prediction Markets, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant. 18-plus bonus is non-withdrawable and expires 7 days after receipt. Trading derivatives involves significant risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Manage your activity with their consumer protection tools. Restrictions apply. See terms at FanDuel.com/predicts/bonus-offer-terms.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Excuse me. Taxi.
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Sunday morning. What's going on in Washington? What's going on in the FBI? Well, with us today is Christopher Raia, and he was in New York for a year. We got to know him real well. He was the assistant director in charge of New York, and Director Cartels promoted him. And now he's in Washington. He's now the deputy director of the entire FBI for the whole country. Well, congratulations, Christopher.
Well, thanks, John. I really appreciate it. And although this has been an awesome job so far, extremely busy. We've been able to accomplish a lot of things in the last 3 or 4 months I've been up here. I miss New York dearly, so it's a pleasure to be back on your show again, and it takes me back to when I was in New York City with you guys.
Well, I guess President Trump wants to make the FBI great again. I mean, you guys are the premier law enforcement agency of the world. And, tell us the biggest difference. You had a great experience in New York. Before that, you were, I think, Houston before that. And now you have the whole country. Let's start with a category about drugs. Can we ever make America drug-free?
You know, I think that's a pretty lofty goal, John, to make it drug-free. Obviously, that's the ultimate goal, as lofty as it is. But we've really done some things between the Homeland Security Council, the administration. We've really done some things to really keep us ahead of the game when it comes to that. And I think the biggest thing that we've instituted is what we're calling our new Homeland Security Task Force. So we started that this past summer. We implemented, now that's a task force that's co-led by the FBI and HSI, and that specifically focuses on our drug cartels, our narcotics traffickers, not only here in the United States, but also those narcotics traffickers and those drug cartels overseas in Mexico and elsewhere. And it's really a whole of government approach. It's not just the U.S. government law enforcement agencies. It's also our intelligence agencies. It's also assets of the Department of War, where we are going to do everything we can in order to stop the illicit flow of narcotics to the United States. I know you've seen it on TV, what's going on overseas outside of the FBI in that fight, what we're doing here in that fight. We've done a surge recently on all what we call the plazas, which are these areas on either side of the Mexican-U.S. border that are controlled by the drug cartels. We've really dumped a lot of resources into there. We're making hundreds of arrests right now and making our country safer, trying to get to that 0% no drugs in the United States. Obviously, that's a lofty goal. We're not there yet, but we're going to try our hardest to get there.
Well, I mean, that's my dream, because there's a few countries out there with that reputation of no drugs, but it's hard. It's hard. Tell us, what other categories is the FBI? Drugs is a big item. What other categories is the FBI working on?
Yeah, and we talked about this a lot last year, and we didn't have enough data yet to really talk how effective we've been. But really, one of the things the director did the last 15 months in conjunction with the administration is really put an emphasis on violent crime. So we have pushed a lot of resources the last 15 months into that space. It's one of the director's priorities, crushing violent crime. And we've done surges across the country. Some of these crime-ridden cities, for example, Memphis, we're in St. Louis right now. We've done Montgomery, Alabama. We've done New Orleans. We've done St. Louis. And we're really going into those cities. We're doing big surges against violent crime, working with our state, local, and other federal partners in there. And we've been very successful, I'm happy to say, in the last 15 months in lowering the violent crime rate down 20%, to include the murder rate. And I think New York. It's been a while since I've been there, but I think Jess Tisch would also say the same. I think they're a microcosm of obviously the country here, and Jess Tisch would say the same thing as far as lowering the violent crime rate. I think last number I remember is right around 20% for murder rate in New York as well. So we're having a lot of wins in that space. We're going to continue to crush violent crime. We're going to continue to drive that violent crime down, and we're going to continue to make Americans safer again.
Now, Washington, D.C., where Jeanine Pirro is, and what President Trump did there, I mean, crime has come down substantially there, and I believe that they had sent people to Memphis. How many cities are you in right now where President Trump is sending in reinforcements to bring down that crime?
Yeah, right now, my count, I've got Washington that we're currently in. We're in Washington, D.C., like you mentioned, and obviously the stats there and the results speak for themselves. That's going to continue indefinitely for now. We're in Memphis, and we have been in Memphis for really almost the entire the entire time the director's been in charge here. We've been to New Orleans. We've left New Orleans. We've been to Montgomery, Alabama. We've left Montgomery, Alabama. We are currently in St. Louis right now, and I think we are also going. We have a couple other cities on tap. The names are escaping me right now, but we're going to continue. We've seen this model work from city to city, and the crime rate and the violent crime rate start to go down. So we're going to continue to take the model that we've done in these cities, apply it to these other cities, and continue to drive that violent crime rate down.
Christopher, how many mayors say thank you, and how many mayors say, well, we don't, you're still giving us trouble?
That's a hard question. I can tell you every city that we've been in so far, the partnerships there have been phenomenal. Everybody has been very grateful, and I don't know how you could not be grateful, quite honestly, when you're seeing your violent crime rate drop like that.
Understood. We talked about drugs. We talked about violent crimes. Now, by the way, you did have on Thursday afternoon, you did have a press conference with Jeanine Pirro on a major case?
Yeah, that's correct. And this is something that we've really started to put a priority on in the last, really in the last few months here. So much of the attention this first 15 months has been on violent crime, which has been great. And I just talked about those stats. But really what we're starting to surge now is we're starting to surge some of our fraud responsibilities that we have. And so we started what we're calling a DOJ Scam Center Strike Force, which basically combines the power, reach, and resources of U.S. Attorney's Office, Department of Justice, the FBI, and the Secret Service, essentially to crack down and disrupt these call centers, these scam centers. I know you've had them, I've had them. The texts or the phone calls where, say, somebody posing as an NYPD officer says, you need to pay this amount of money, otherwise you're going to be arrested. There's a warrant out for your arrest, and that those calls 9 times out of 10 perpetrate from call centers, these massive call centers overseas. And they really target one of our most vulnerable demographic populations, and that's elderly citizens. We over the last year, we've had almost 200,000 complaints filed by the over 60 age group, reporting losses in over 7.7 billion.
Wow.
And so it's an issue. It's going to continue to be an issue, and we're working really hard in order to shut these scam centers down and help protect our American citizens.
I know. I got scammed last year when you were here for about $60,000, but I was just being stupid. I'm a lot smarter now, maybe.
And John, that's the key, right? Is education.
Yes.
The key, we're not going to rest our way out of this problem. The key is education, and so we're going to take these big, massive takedowns that we do, and we're going to capitalize that and continue to educate our public, particularly our vulnerable population like the elderly.
One additional very important fact is the Iranians. I used that President Trump has terrorized the terrorists. Now,
yeah.
But the terrorists are saying that they've unleashed their crews in the United States and had a few people nervous. And I guess that's the FBI. It's under your jurisdiction, isn't it?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, look, this isn't anything new, John, for the Iranians. Look, we have been dealing with lethal plotting. We've been dealing with targeting of dissidents for several years, as early as back as 2010, 2009. I think that's going to continue. We're going to continue to work that lethal plotting throughout. I mean, this has been out there in the media, even in New York. This has touched New York, as I'm sure you're tracking. We work to disrupt anyone trying to try to cause violence here. So that's our job, and the Iranians are no exception to that. And so we've had two massive takedowns, really two takedowns in New York City in the last 2 or 3 years, targeting the dissident Masih Alinejad, which was orchestrated by the government of Iran. And then, of course, we had another takedown of another group that was going after senior level officials in the United States government, that was also orchestrated by the government of Iran. That is going to continue. That happened before the war. That's going to continue during the war, and I'm sure that's going to continue after the war. So we continue to remain vigilant on that. We continue to get disruptions in that. We continue to do what we do best and mitigate those threats.
Understood. Is there anything else you want to tell the American people? Have we missed a category? I mean, we have another minute or two left. I mean, we talked about drugs. We talked about major crimes. We talked about the phone scamming that Janine Pirro worked on with you guys. What other category have we missed?
Yeah, I think the other thing I might talk about is the other thing which we really get is our cyber efforts, right? We do a lot in that cyberspace.
Yes.
Not only internally in the FBI, but with our other agencies, but also the private sector. And we're taking the fight to the adversaries who target the digital infrastructure. We're seeing a little bit that with Iran right now, but we're also seeing it with other countries that have the tools to paralyze our school systems, police departments, healthcare facilities, et cetera. So, the tricky thing with the cyber threat is there's really no bright line where the cyber criminal activity ends and the nation state activity starts. So, we have a unique perspective on that that few others have. And so what our cyber AD has started is he started something called Operation Winter Shield. And what that does, that's really an education platform that our cyber division pushes out to the private sector, where we share the top 10 controls organizations, the top 10 controls that organizations can implement. And really, again, raising that awareness piece in order to not only protect them for potential cyber crimes, but also build that partnership. So, God forbid a cyber crime does happen, there's enough trust built between our agency and the private sector in order to limit the damage and help us with our investigation going forward.
Well, Christopher Wray, Deputy Director of the entire FBI, thank you for coming on this Sunday morning, and we'd love to talk to you again in the near future to give us updates, because the American people, well, they love the FBI. They want to feel safe, and we want the best for our country.
John, I can't agree with you more, and then I can't thank you enough for having me on again. And anytime you need me, I'm happy to talk about the great work and highlight the great work that the FBI does, not only in New York but around the country. So thank you. Well,
thank you. Have a great rest of the weekend, and thank you for everything you've done in your career. And God bless America. God bless President Trump for reinforcing, safety in America.
Thanks, John.